Airshows have been a spectacle for us to see since the first international display in 1909. Showing off the more impressive acrobatic abilities of the planes, they can be a fun afternoon of festive activities. Can you imagine if I just ended the video right there? When these shows go south, it can turn really quickly from a fun afternoon to a nightmare. Today, we take a look at one of the deadliest airshow disasters in history. The date was August 28th, 1988. The event was called the Flugtag 88 Air Show, and the setting was at the USAF Ramstein Air Base in West Germany. Weather was just right for the aviation show, attracting around 300,000 spectators, mostly consisting of American and German guests. At 3:40 p.m., the Italian Air Force display team arrived with 10 Air Machi MB-339 Pan planes. These were light attack military trainer jets developed in the 1970s with a full metal structure and tricycle undercarriage. This acrobatic demonstration was known as the Frise Tricolori, a group of planes that trailed a signature smoke behind them, usually in the colors of the Italian flag. They were an impressive troop, and on this day they were all set to dazzle the crowd, but not in the way it ended up. The last configuration this troop attempted to perform was called the Pierced Heart, where the 10 planes would swoop upward, split apart with 5 turning left, 4 turning right, and the remaining center plane left to fly in a loop, then pass between the other planes as they reunited close to the ground, appropriately in a heart shape. The pilot of the single plane had performed this trick about 70 times before. It was supposed to go off without a hitch, but something was off that day. Pilot Ivo Nucciarelli had to have been having a bad day because his plane flew up too high and dove down too fast, throwing the timing way off. The other 9 planes were on target, flying close to the ground at 350 miles per hour when Nucciarelli's plane came in hot. He knew it was wrong and tried to slow his descent, but the mistake had sealed his fate. The single plane clipped Pony 2, which exploded midair before careening into Pony 1, severing its tail section before cartwheeling to the ground in flames. The unfortunate people on the ground in front of the downed plane were helpless to protect themselves as fuel, fire, and debris launched into the crowd, killing 31 people instantly. Still not done, Pony 1, now flying with a severed tail, crashed into an emergency evacuation helicopter on site, whose pilot succumbed to his injuries 20 days later. The pilot of Pony 1 tried to eject from his plane, but the aircraft hit the runway before the parachute could deploy. The remaining 7 planes moved into a dead man formation and returned to base. The whole event from takeoff to this point only took about 10 minutes. Those who didn't get hit by the initial crash suffered severe burns and injuries that took their lives in the following days. In total, there were 70 fatalities, 346 serious injuries, and hundreds more minor ones. The main takeaway from this event is that the American and German military were simply not prepared for this disaster. The American authorities didn't initially allow German ambulances onto the base, slowing the rescue progress significantly. The local telephone was being flooded with so many calls that it failed, having to resort to amateur radio operators to get the word out. The information wasn't getting to the Rescue Coordination Center in a timely manner. To add more problems, those who were getting off the base for treatment were met with inadequate facilities, and the methods for treatment were getting confused across American and German practices. Because of this, a unified standard for these medical practices was created in 1995 and updated in 2013. Several photos of the videos were taken of the disaster, and while I tried to show as much as I could, I'll link the whole video in the description, as YouTube is sensitive about displaying anything that might rustle your jimmies. Viewer discretion is advised if you care to take a look. No one could say what was going through the pilot's head when he realized his mistake and tried to correct it to no avail. The realization that this crash was imminent must have been brief but more intense than anything I've ever experienced. Thanks for watching. For more true crime and horror, please consider subscribing, game with me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and as always, be well.